Thank you. He gets it from his mother. A good afternoon. There we go. That's better. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the February edition of our town hall meeting. Happy Fat Tuesday as we know it, or should I say Shrove Tuesday. Hopefully you came out this morning and got some pancakes and all those goodies before you give it up for Lent. I think I might have told you this before, stop me if you have heard it. When I was growing up, I grew up Catholic, and my mom always asked me, what are you giving up for Lent? One year I told her I was giving up asparagus. Easy to give up those things you don't like, right? Well, welcome today, and to open us up with prayer and then give the pastoral care update is Pastor Elliott.
Sir, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's wonderful to see you today. Let us pray. Dearest Father, we give you thanks and praise for the beauty of this day that you've given us all to share and enjoy. We ask also that you would be with us at this moment in this meeting. Help us to hear the news of this place that you have both established and continue to sustain, so that we might hear the things that you have for us, to sustain our lives and to help us to grow not only in closeness to each other, but also to you, so that you in all things may be glorified. This we ask in Jesus' name, amen. All righty. Well, per normal, just want to remind you all of the weekly worship times that are happening over the church and the Lutheran Haven. Of course, they're all going to change, but we'll get to that in a moment. Sanctuary at 8, 9:30, and 11. Generations at 9:30 in the Founders Hall, and Fuel at 11 o'clock in the Founders Hall. Followed by, of course, the Haven Worship, 9:30 in Harbor Hall, and Monday night at 7 p.m. in the chapel. This month, the afternoon divine service is February the 26th at 1:30 p.m. Tomorrow is Ash Wednesday, if you haven't figured that out yet. And if you haven't, are you Lutheran? All right. Any rate, we have 8:40 a.m. in the sanctuary. We have 2 p.m. in Harbor Hall and 7 p.m. in the sanctuary. Hopefully you can make one of those. We will have ashes available after each service. Lenten worship will continue on Wednesday mornings and evenings, 8:40 a.m. with the school kids over in the sanctuary, and then, of course, at 7 p.m. also in the sanctuary. The Bible studies continue per normal, with the one exception is that the community night Bible study is suspended so we can all go worship. Okay, so there is no Bible study here on Wednesday evenings, but after Ash Wednesday, the Bible studies continue per normal. All right. Now, as I noted, starting on April the 12th, now everybody heard me, right? Because that is the most often asked question. When did these start? April the 12th. No, wait a minute. When do they start? April 12th. Thank you very much. All right. Our new worship schedule changes. Now, that is not going to change the worship times for Monday night worship or the afternoon divine service. The Monday evening worship service remains at 10, and the afternoon divine remains at 1:30. The new worship time which is the first Sunday after Easter, we're moving to 2 worship times on Sunday mornings. The first will be 9 a.m. We'll have worship both in the sanctuary and for the generation service in Founders Hall at 9 a.m. and at 10:30 a.m. both in the sanctuary and the fuel service in Harbor Hall, which means that there is now a new fellowship time in between those two services. So from 10 to 10:30, we will be having fellowship in the space between those two, between the sanctuary and Founders Hall. Or if there's inclement weather, I'm sure we'll be inside in the school cafeteria or something like that. The harbor service is going to be moving to 10:30. It's now at 9:30, and it's going to move to 10:30, which actually in some ways is going to help the folks who live at the ALF, because that means they don't have to hurry up and rush and get their morning meds, etc. So it'll be a little bit more calm, I suppose. But that does mean that we're going to have to move the fellowship time for the Harbor Hall to 11:30 to noon. So they get to ruin their lunch by having a little bit of a goodie. Well, if he'd catch up, yeah. Yep, you're a little slow. It's not going? Here we go. So the new worship times, the new fellowship time, the Harbor fellowship time will be 11:30 to noon. So we'll have worship at 10:30 in the Harbor, followed by some fellowship, and then they can go and eat lunch if they still have room in their tummy. I guess we'll find out. All right. We will have Bible study offered on Sunday mornings, both at 9 a.m. and 10:30. You got to go forward, Raleigh. Yeah, well, let's get there. There we go. Bible studies will be offered at 9 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. on Sunday mornings over at the church. Okay, so what does this mean? That's the next slide. That means we're asking you to schedule 2.5 hours at church on Sunday morning. Come to church, go to fellowship, go to Bible study, or go to Bible study, go to fellowship, and go to church. Take your pick. We believe that this will help us become more of one congregation rather than 6 different congregations, depending upon your worship schedule. And that will help us to grow together, to get to know each other better, and to help us to then bind together and serve with one another, not only within the community of believers here at St. Luke's in the Lutheran Haven, but also outside our community. That is the goal. Other news, which is the next slide, right? I'll just do it. How's that? That way, must be a distance thing. At any rate, St. Luke's is going to be extending a call to Michaela Curl. She goes by, her given name is Michaela, but she goes by Mickey for the position of Director of Christian Education. She has to get through the final steps of her certification process before that happens, but that'll be happening soon. You'll be seeing that. You might have met Mickey here on, was it Saturday night or Sunday night when the senior youth came over to give some cell phone help, that kind of thing. She is a wonderful young lady. She is full of energy, which is nice to see. She puts me to shame. At any rate, she's a great addition to the staff. Also, Gary Hickey has announced his retirement here at the end of April. You'll be seeing more announcements regarding that. We'll spend some time saying goodbye to him on one of the Sundays in April. That takes us to Neighbor to Neighbor. Well, that program is about 3 weeks old now. Yay! Which means, guess what? Well, we got to start giving some reporting on it, right? So thus far, we've had 10 requests come from the community. And as per normal, whenever you start anything new, you learn something new and you apply it, right? So we've had some hiccups out the gate, but that's pretty normal because we got some requests that were within the scope, but they were challenging. So we worked through it. The volunteers have been fantastic. They've worked very, very hard. And as we learn as we go, we get better at it as we go. We do still need some volunteers who can do some tech help, help people with their TVs or help them learn how to use YouTube and watch the service, or maybe a little bit of help with cell phones. If you guys have any of that expertise, would like to give it a crack and give it a try, please let me know. We'll put you on the list. Okay? Some things to remember about Neighbor to Neighbor, and that is there are no guarantees. We're using volunteers, and sometimes we run out of volunteers, there's nobody to help you. So if you have a request, it's not guaranteed that it's going to be fulfilled, but we will do our best to do so. Also, if you have a request for off-campus transportation, please understand you must first ask Haven Transportation to take you, okay? Because if you don't, I'm just going to make sure that you're turned away until you go do that first. We don't want to take away from what Haven Transportation is doing because we, like to keep good people employed. So make sure you ask for Haven Transportation first. The second reminder, or third reminder, is that this is resident-led. My office is just there to support and make sure information flows, but it is resident-led, so if you have a complaint, don't see me. See Reverend Paul Wiegert first. As soon as he gets off vacation, he would be here telling you all this right now, but he's not here. It is resident-led, so let's let you, the residents, care for it. If there is a problem, let's fix it. Let's make it better. And I'm certainly available to help as much as I possibly can. Sometimes I might need to enlist Raleigh or somebody else to help work through an issue. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else. That is the last slide. So, any questions about anything? New service times, neighbor to neighbor, whatever. Yes.
Put the service times back up for St. Luke's.
The new service times for St. Luke's? Does that help? Yep, 9 and 10:30 with fellowship at 10 o'clock. Gives you enough time to shake hands with the pastor, take a couple sips of coffee, eat a donut hole, greet a couple people, and get to Bible study. Or vice versa. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Well, I guess we should go forward so we get to the next person. Oh, you already did it, you rascal. All right. So let's have Lynn come on up.
Did everybody enjoy their pancakes this morning? So just a few things. The parties that we had this past month, Super Bowl, thank you guys for all coming out. It was a great time over at the pub. That was my first event there. So learned some things. We will be moving forward with more events over there. Okay, so on March 2nd at 11 a.m., we're going to have a meeting here for anyone that does an event in here, whether it's a club, a meeting, an event, Looms of Love, Old Time Jams, Notes and Nibbles, Car Makers, so on and so forth, at 11 a.m. If the lead person cannot make it, if you could send a representative, that would be great. Okay, movie matinee for March will be Three Men and a Baby. That is at a request of a resident, so I do take requests on movies. That will be at 1:30, and then our birthday lunch will be Friday, February 27th at Hollerbach's. I believe there are 1 or 2 spots left on the bus if anyone would like to sign up. And then for March, it's not on here, but we will be doing the Townhouse in Oviedo. March 5th is the Strawberry Festival. The bus is full. For those that would like to go on their own, Thursdays are their senior days. It is discounted ticket for $10. Wednesday is their Veterans Days. That's $10 a ticket also. And then bingo is next Wednesday at 1:30, and Donna Cleaster will be running that for me. Rotary Pancake Breakfast, there are sign-ups available, outside activities. That'll be March 21st from 8:30 to 11:30, and it's $10 for residents, and you guys can pay cash at the door. On Monday, March 9th, we will have worship anew here for a reception at Fellowship Hall at 4 o'clock. There will be a sign-up outside the activities office starting Friday. And then Cooking with Chef is this Friday at 2 o'clock, and he will be doing strawberry shortcake. Who got their taxes done already? No one? Who still needs them? So AARP will be here. There will be a sign up starting on Friday. There are 23 spots available for any resident that needs to get their taxes done. There are intake forms that we hope to have by Friday that you have to fill out all your information. Crow's Nest Pub. I told you I wanted to do more events there. So a few things about the pub. So they have appetizers and mocktails from 3 to 7 every day for those of you that don't know. Haven on tap with their homemade beer, which I heard is delicious. Anyone know? Because I don't. I can't drink on the job. They will dispense beer Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 4 to 7 or at special requests. See that man over there. And they will have karaoke this upcoming Saturday. And then on March 21st, they will have an Irish acoustic trio. So they're shooting for some kind of social night every third Saturday of the month from 4 to 6. So please come on by. Okay, so my mom talked about a trip last time she was up here. That one fell through. So we are working on the Lancaster, Pennsylvania trip. So that'll be from May 17th to the 23rd. There is information outside the activities office. We do have spots left. And anyone that did sign up already and want monthly deductions, please fill out the paperwork outside the activities office before you leave today. Marketing.
How you doing? Hello, good afternoon. This will be very brief. So we have one new resident that we would like to welcome, and I didn't see her here, I don't believe. Mrs. Lynn Kraft is a new resident at the Landings, apartment 237, and she joined us all the way from Winter Springs, Florida. So, yes, and we've had a couple more closings this week, so you'll be meeting some more new folks next month. Thank you. Yeah? David and his merry men.
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
What about openings? What's available?
So we do, repeat the question. What about openings? What's available here at the Haven? So we've had quite a few landings units turn over in the past few months. So the good thing about those is they're pretty quick to be renovated. So we had several completion dates for the end of January. So we've got, I think, 4 or 5 closings scheduled over there for this month and next month. There's still one more to come there that's just starting renovations. So the landing's pretty much the units that we have available or spoken for, and we have closing dates in the next 6 weeks. Cottages, we've got a few under renovation. Pretty much all of those. The way we do things are probably a little differently now than when you moved in. We don't really call out to the wait list until we have an estimated completion date. So once we have an estimated completion date, we start working through the list. The goal is always to close the unit within 30 days of completion. And we've been pretty good with that. Every once in a while, someone will need to push it out a few weeks. So I mean, I don't have my vacancy report with me, so I don't know a total number under renovation. Maybe 10 Raleigh or so, but yeah. So here comes Raleigh. So that's kind of, I mean, thankfully our wait list is strong. I have actually gotten 2 wait list deposits yesterday, today, so that's exciting. It's still, the cottage list is over 100. The landing's like at least 20-ish or a little more. The thing with the landings is, that building's not as old, so it's not as long as the cottage list, and not everyone's ready to move in right away. So it happens where we have landings units that are available for immediate occupancy. So it's nice because then people coming in, maybe that want to get in sooner than 2 years from now, have an opportunity to make the move to the landings.
Yeah. Thanks, Steph. I think on the cottage side of things, we really don't have a lot of inventory right now. There are about 2 to 3 that are just now becoming available because people passed away or they just made the move to the harbor. And so they're waiting on house sales. And we can't do any work until the house sale is over with and it's been cleared out. Then we can go in. The only work we can do on those ahead of time is to go in and work up a scope of work and show it to the contractor so we're ready to go as soon as the house sale has been done. But really, the cottages have slowed down. The landings have been turning over pretty quick. Yeah, and our new contractor, Jason Crowley, has been super quick. He's gotten those things done quicker than it took my last 2 combined doing renovations because he's got a really good rapport with his subcontractors and he knows the county very well. So,
What about the termite house?
what about the termite house? We're about 3 weeks out from the trusses coming in, and once the trusses arrive, they've already got all the permits and everything are ready to go on them. So once the trusses arrive and they get the roof put on, everything else is going to go quick because they already have all the materials for everything they need. It was just waiting. You can't do anything interior until the trusses arrive and you get the roof replaced. Yeah, exactly. And Nancy just started asking for selections from those 2 residents. So that's a little bit about where we're at with the refurb process right now. Thanks, Steph. Yes, sir.
Anything that could be done to put a fire under the, is there anything that we can do to put a fire underneath the county to get our permits done quicker? I mean, every time that a unit sits idle for 3 months, it costs everybody.
Well, in that particular case, though, that one was a little bit differently than our normal permitting process. And actually, our permits have gotten a lot quicker than they were this time last year. Because somebody finally in the county wised up and realized that we had been marked across the board as being commercial when we're not. And once they had a county meeting and they said, oh, no, these guys are residential, our permits started moving a lot quicker. On that particular building back there, though, because there was so much damage, we had to go back and redesign all the trusses and everything. That's what took the longest to get through permitting. So, but again, right now in the normal refurb process, they're moving pretty quick. As soon as it's almost like the windows, for instance, used to take 4 or 5 weeks to get through permitting with these people because they wanted to make energy design and all that. Now you're getting them back almost within a week after submitting them. So it's moving a lot quicker than it used to, thankfully. Any other questions on that? Okay.
You might as well stay here. I'm not going to be long. Okay, so although this will be put on the scroll in the next day or so, just a reminder that February 26th, which is next Thursday, we're going to need to shut the water off for a few hours in the morning. We have some more backflows that need to be repaired. We don't think it's going to take that long, but just so that you're aware. And again, I'll have concierge put it on the scroll and on the announcements. Okay, so as you're aware, Seminole County Fire Department comes out annually to do an inspection of the ALF and the memory care. Last year was the first time they came out and actually did a thorough walkthrough of the landings building, and they're doing that again. We recently just had the ALF ECC walkthrough, which we passed. They approved of everything that we had. We had a couple of deficiencies, but it wasn't anything major, just minor things. But they will be out next Wednesday, the 25th, for the landings building. For those of you that live in the landings, make you aware that we're going to be going through the building. The fire inspector and myself will be walking the building. A couple of other safety things came up, though. The last time county was out for fire inspections, we were talking safety issues. And I'm not going to say who, but we had some office personnel that had what's called the daisy chain. We had some extension cords plugged into other thingamabobs. And that's a no-no. That's unsafe. And it's good sometimes to have things like that happen so that you learn from it, right? So I want to make sure that all of us, not just in the landings or the ALF or wherever, but all of us understand that about extension cords and plugging in. We have, due to code, we have outlets strategically placed in our homes in a building like this, and you don't want to take an outlet and plug it in and then plug an extension cord into that and then maybe plug in a extension with 5 plugs on it into that and then add on some more, and before you know it, you're already hitting the Georgia border. So you want to make sure that you stay consistent with that. Surge protectors are great. The fire department encourages that we use those, especially in your home, but be aware you don't want to draw too much amperage on your house because that becomes a fire hazard, so you want to be careful. So just be aware. If you have any questions, you can call the office. I have no problem coming over and we can go over some things, some reminders or whatever, but please be aware of that. In those conversations that we had, they were general conversations. They weren't, the fire department's not there to tell us what to do to be safe, but they absolutely encourage us so that we are all safe. The particular day that we were out, we were going from spot to spot in the golf cart, and there were some residents walking, and of course it was daylight at the time, but it made me think about early morning because I get here earlier in the morning, and there is a very nice group of residents that love to do their walk early in the morning before sunrise. And I will tell you it's great because They all wear their reflective vests, and they stay together, and they're safe, and it's a wonderful thing. So just as a reminder, make sure that you stay visible. Keep to the side of the road the best that you can. I mean, I'm aware of it, so I drive really, really slow, and I'm careful when I approach them, but we want everybody to be safe. The other thing is, down at the shop, I've posted some signs on the gates. We're going to ask that people, if they need something from the shop, that they come to the front door on Haven Drive and not go in the back on Fountain Drive. It's a safety thing. I would hate for somebody just innocently walking in there to ask a question or get something or borrow something or whatever, and something go wrong. So please come to the front door. We've actually ordered another. We realized that the doorbell wasn't working, so we've ordered a new doorbell. We're going to put that up, knock on the door, ring the doorbell or whatever, and come on in. Now, the best way is to, do something through concierge, to put a work order in and ask those questions. But if you need to come to the shop, you're more than welcome, but please just come to the front door for safety measures. Now, lastly, please don't attack me, landscaping. So I'm going to ask that we refrain from questions for that subject matter right here, if you need to come up to me afterwards. But I've talked to the vendors about the deep freeze that we just had, and all the plants and the grass is nice and brown, and that looks wonderful. They recommended that we wait some time, sometime in March, give it a little bit of time so that we can definitively see what's going to come back and what's not going to come back, and then we'll have a further conversation after that. So, I know everybody's got questions on what we're going to do and how we're going to address it, but let's just be patient with that, and sometime in March we'll visit that again after things have a little bit of time to heal. Any questions other than landscaping? We're gonna look at it, and we're gonna do something. Yeah, I mean, there's some plants that, they're not gonna recover. They're just not. But we'll have that conversation further later. Okay, Raleigh?
Thanks, Dave. All right, just a quick few updates here on campus projects. The power got completed for the marquee sign, and I think tomorrow or Thursday they will be out to install our new marquee signs. So those are the digital boards that are going up, kind of like what St. Luke has over there. They'll be on the marquee, one on each side of the marquee. And it might be blank for a little bit of time once they first go up until we get things loaded on there. There's only 2 of us who are the gatekeepers of that right now. We have to still undergo some training on how to load information up in there, but they will start going up. And so once that goes up, then we'll be able to do all kinds of advertising of things out here on that sign as well. So that came through a generous donation through one of the Duda foundations, and it's wonderful that we got that. So secondly, the Fellowship Hall gym expansion, some of you have heard. So sitting behind the screens over there, some of our equipment arrived a couple weeks ago. Some additional gym equipment, and for those of you who don't know what's going on, we're taking the wall down between Vince's area and the gym, expanding the gym more to provide more opportunities there. And Vince is excited about that. One of our contractors is already working up the scope on that. He's been in and out several times in the last couple weeks doing some preliminary work. And so that'll be forthcoming. Once that happens, I asked him, I said, what's the duration of that project? He said about a week. So there'll probably be when it comes time for that, there'll be about a week's time where that gym will be closed off for that renovation work. But that'll be a good addition in there. Working on wood shop costs, we got a nice donation as well to do some wood shop improvements. So I'm already working with the electrician on upgrading the electrical work in there, and looking at another contractor, working with him right now about new windows in there and some flooring and some other things in there as well. So that's ongoing. So we're looking forward to some of those nice improvements coming about for our amenities out here. All right, David just talked about this, so I'll go ahead and talk about it. because I have a background in horticulture as well, and this isn't my first rodeo with freeze out here. Typically, and David is right, he did talk to the contractors, and my experience has always been, I back in my horticultural days, my landscaping days, this time of the year you get a freeze, we typically do not do anything right off the bat. We usually wait until about middle to end of March before we start cutting anything back. You always cut it back first and see what it's going to regenerate, and then you determine what needs to be replaced. All right, it's too soon. We're only a week removed, really, from the really cold weather. I've also experienced getting into March where we've had more 30-degree weather. You cut it back too soon, you'll definitely take the plants out the rest of the way. I know it's unsightly, but that's the best way to handle it. We don't get freezes every year. We've been good the last 4 or 5 years without freezes. This year we got hit hard. And believe it or not, there's still some green on campus. Michael Ray and I visited a community about a week ago, and that whole place was brown. Everything was wiped out. So, I mean, it got, frost bitten damage. So once we do some cut back and determine, then we'll figure out, all right, does this need to be replaced? Is that, then we'll start our assessments. Okay. So just be patient with it. It is forthcoming. Typically my experience is that majority of it does rebound. All right. But whatever doesn't, we'll look at replacing. All right. Miscellaneous. Man. So I started noticing recently as I drive around the campus that I've seen some golf carts. I don't know who they belong to, but I've seen golf carts parked in our handicap spots. And I witnessed something about a week ago over in the harbor where somebody, golf cart was parked, believe it or not. Not the harbor, the landings. It was parked in the handicap spot. And somebody with a legitimate handicap placard in their car had nowhere to park. So I say that generally because those handicap spots are meant for vehicles that are properly placarded with a handicap designation, whether that's a handicap designation on the license plate or something hanging in the rearview mirror. All right. But they're not meant for golf carts. I'm not saying you did it. I'm just saying be on the lookout for it. Okay. I mean, if you see somebody parking there, please remind them not to park their golf carts in the handicap spots. All right. That would be a great help. And I appreciate that.
Question on that.
Yes.
Could we have more golf cart parking spaces?
Where would you like them?
Well, around the harbor, there's not enough. There's not very few here around this building.
Okay. We can certainly investigate that. Take that under advisement. Yes.
What if you have a handicap sticker? Can you put that on your golf?
What if you have a handicap sticker? Can you put that on your golf cart? I'm not sure that qualifies. Well, no, those parking spaces are meant for the cars. By the DMV rules, those are meant for cars, not for golf carts. Now, I mean, we can look at adding more, painting more lines around the campus, for people who utilize their golf carts to get closer to the building and whatnot. We can certainly investigate that, okay? All right, with that being said, here's my February tip of the month for credit cards. I came across this firsthand myself, and somebody else brought it to my attention. I thought, that might be a good talking point. If you pay bills online, anybody pay their bills online? Yeah. How many of you all use a credit card to do that? Okay. Have you ever tried to use a credit card at a store and anybody ever said, oh, by the way, there's a 3.5% charge fee for that credit card? Yeah, exactly. So sometimes some vendors don't charge you anything. A lot of people are starting to do that. And I've noticed that more and more online. And I experienced this firsthand last week and got the shock of my life when I had to go pay a vet bill. And I planned on putting it on the credit card because, how many of us, I don't really write checks anymore, okay? And they said, oh, by the way, that's a 5% service fee. Well, 5% on a large bill adds up, all right? And so not every vendor is good about telling you about those things. And so I say that because you might end up incurring fees that you weren't expecting to pay if you use your credit card, and even debit cards. Sometimes they will charge fees on debit card usage. All right. So my suggestion is ask before you use it to see what kind of fees on there. I've seen ranges, like I said, from 3.5% to 5%. That people are starting to charge, and that's because it's being passed down to them by the people that run their credit card services. All right. Yes.
Are they not obligated to tell you that they're going to charge you first?
Are they not obligated that they are, to charge you first? I don't know that question. You would think morally and ethically that they would be. I would think that they would be, but I don't know. I happened at my vet. My vet actually told me right off the bat. He said, "Sir, if you're going to pay with a credit card, here's what it is. But here's our other accepted, forms of payment." However, I went to check out online, ordering some books for school, and I didn't find out until I about hit the submit button and the fine print at the bottom. There was a 3.5% charge on your credit card, for credit card usage. Fine print. So it's kind of like, the dealership disclaimers on these auto ads. You know how they run through it like a million miles an hour at the end, just to say that they said it, even though you might not hear it. So it's just a little bit of due diligence. That's all I'm saying. It might help you save some money if you ask those questions up front. This time of the year, especially around the holidays, you're trying to save money. Money's getting tight all the time. Yes.
I was just going to say what I have personally noticed is when you get to the payment page, just review all of the charges down there, because it could be there, and especially if you deal with government entities, it could be at the bottom. So before you hit that pay button, just please check the entire receipt.
Good point. Thank you. All right, any questions on that? Just trying to look out a little bit for everybody. If not, I'll be available at the end of the meeting for questions as well, and we'll invite our CEO, Jerry.
Fumble this all around here. All right, good afternoon. I'm going to switch to a different PowerPoint here. Hang on for a second. Go up? Okay, good. Again, thank you guys for joining us this afternoon here in person and from your homes. On the credit card, I just want to interject. A lot of times you'll see that, and I always laugh when I see it. You'll see a lot of it times it's called a convenience fee, right? And I'm like, who the heck convenient, for that? But I have seen that, and the other thing to consider is a lot of times. And I do this a lot, you use your credit card to pay for stuff because you get points, right? If you get 1% cash back, but it costs you 3.5% extra to do it, it doesn't work out very well all the time. So just, keep those types of things in mind. And I appreciate Raleigh bringing that up. So today I'm going to talk about a couple things. One, kind of a silly thing, maybe not really a silly to me, is who are we? Who are we, Lutheran Haven? We'll talk a little bit about the January Board of Trustees meeting and what kind of recap that, and then we'll talk about a little bit on the 2026 how things are going so far this year. So when I say who are we are Lutheran Haven. We are residents. We are employees. We are not technically a part of St. Luke's, but we are a part of St. Luke's. They are a part of us. And we are all the volunteers from within and without that come in and onto our campus. We are all part of the same Lutheran Haven body, and we're all here to serve our Lord and Savior by doing what we do at Lutheran Haven, all in a different way. So I want to take this moment to thank you for myself and for all of the other parts of the bodies. I want to thank you, our residents, on my behalf and on behalf of all the other body parts that form the Lutheran Haven, for your support, your patience, and your faith. We are not the Haven without you. So from the Bible study leaders to the devotion readers, from the flea market to the memory makers, from the porch parties to the fundraisers, from the music makers to the plant-based bakers and beer makers, you are the ones that make the Haven a home, and we have our gratitude. So thank you for all that you do. It doesn't go unnoticed. It's one of the reasons I love to come into this place every single day. So thank you. Now we'll move on to the other part of our show, so to speak. Our board meeting. January board meeting. It's a relatively quiet board meeting. We had a lot of discussions and things going on. We heard from our resident-led groups, resident-led committees. So that's the resident executive council, committee or council, Dwayne? Council. I can never remember. And it's lovingly called the REC, but that's not a W in front of there, right? So it is the resident executive council. We heard from the auxiliary. We heard from the foundation resident assistance advisory committee. Council or committee? Committee. Okay, I'll get those right. I'm going on 10 years now, and this is still jumbles in my head. So those groups kind of highlighted what their function is, what they did, and what they accomplished during the year, and give the board some feedback. It's really, really valuable to the board, and the board loves this time of year. We had to delay it because everybody was in South Carolina last year, when we usually do it in November. So that was kind of a highlight of the board meeting for the board, and greatly appreciate all that's done there. We reviewed our current operations and the priorities, and made sure that we were still in alignment with what those are. And primarily those are occupancy, improved operations, maintaining our campus, and looking and enhancing our programs and services. Those are our priorities. We update the board on all of those. The board gives us feedback and lets us know whether we're in line with what they want us to do or if we need to modify anything. And then we evaluated where we are in our mid and long range planning. And the definition on mid and long range planning has changed quite a bit. So it used to be that you would have, you'd have 10, 15-year plans and all these different things. You have 3-year plans and et cetera, et cetera. In today's world, because things change and move so fast, it's so dynamic that you really don't do detailed planning, or most people don't do detailed planning beyond about a 5-year scope. We have a vision of where we think we want to be. We know in 15 or 20 years, we want to be providing care to our retired population, retired Lutherans. We want to be a haven of care. We know that. How that looks, we don't know. I mean, just in the 4 or 5 years since COVID, so much has changed. Technology has changed. Michael and I were at a Lutheran Services of America conference up in Jacksonville, and the things that are going on and the way technology is being used and how Lutheran service organizations are changing how they execute their mission just in the last 2 or 3 years. It's really kind of amazing. A lot of that has to do with regulation changes. It's not just technology. It's regulations changes. It's the economy. It's all these different things that come in. So when we meet as a board and we start to go over these things, what we've adopted is kind of a rolling 5-year. We kind of know where we're headed. We aim high, like they taught us in Driver's Ed. Aim high. But we do a rolling 5 years. So each year we look at, okay, what's the next 4 or 5 years look like? And so that's what we're in the middle of doing right now. And looking at some of the infrastructure things that we're doing for campus, capital spending, all those kinds of good things. So that was pretty much our board meeting. Like I said, not a lot of huge decisions. One really nice thing that they did is we have designated a board-directed fund to help support our aging in place and resident care programs. So we had a large donation that we received, unexpected, and the donor allowed us to take a portion of that and put it into helping fund our aging in place programs and services. So one of those, a couple of examples of how that might be used is with our Memory Makers Cafe. And with one of the programs and services that we've enhanced through the health concierge is the, I think they call it the respite care program. It's supporting Lutheran counseling services. It's working with Lutheran counseling services for people and families and our residents who may be starting to face dementia. So it provides a place for spouses to stay and get services while their caregiver spouse attends Lutheran counseling service support group sessions. So we provide the caregivers and the program and activities for that hour or 2 hours, and that costs, we have staff that provide it, and it's a programmed activity. It's not just they're going to sit and twiddle their thumbs. We've got programs and activities that help benefit folks that have some cognitive issues. That was a new program started by our awesome health concierge team, and now the board has designated funds to make sure that we help provide support to that program. And if it works and if it's steady, it will have the seed money to be a permanent fixture. So it's that kind of thing. That was one great thing that came out of the board meeting. Next, we look at our 2026 operations to date. Some of the numbers, I'm not really going to give you any or very few numbers, but just kind of give you an idea of where we are this year. This is through December. So we hope that in the next week or two, we'll have our January numbers out. We kind of have an idea what they're going to look like, but we don't know for sure. Right now, we are on operating income, we're below budget, which is not a good thing. But primarily, that's due to our occupancy challenges over at the harbor and the lodge. So through December, at our expenses, all our expenses, or our expenses in total, are in line with budget. So we're doing a good job our managers are doing a good job of controlling costs right now. And our independent living occupancy, I think there were a couple of questions about how many units we have open, et cetera. Our independent living occupancy is still right at 94, 95%. And it might even jump up to 96 by the end of this month, which I tell you is really good. That's a solid number in the industry. Our harbor lodge census, so in December, which is the financial statements, the operating income I was talking about is December, our harbor lodge occupancy had increased some, but it was at 56%. Since then, so as it sits today, it's up to 66%. So we're moving in the right direction. We feel like you're going to see, when I report to you on either the January or February numbers, we should have a huge leap forward in wiping out that loss, that negative variance to operating income, and maybe, hopefully, we'll be back in line with budget of what we budgeted. So that occupancy is really starting to take hold. So some of the seeds that were planted in terms of advertising, getting back out in the community, joining a bunch of community groups, we're starting to see the fruits of that, those efforts are starting to bear fruit for us now. Also, again, going back to the body that I talked about, a lot of you guys have recommended. We've had several move-ins from folks that were recommended by some of you, either at home or in this room. So it takes all of us to do that, and we're grateful for that. So we feel like that's going in the right direction. Under programs and services, I just talked about the respite program. Memory Makers still seems to be going pretty strong. We've got, again, some of you guys are volunteering to help those things happen, and it's just wonderful to see that. We have we're expanding the gym. We're adding going to convert an exam room to add a third exam room to the Be Well Clinic. So, and hopefully, I think, Raleigh, you have to correct me on this, and as part of that process, hopefully increase the space in the waiting area inside the clinic, not out in the hallway, but increase some space, open up some space in there. And that's a good problem to have, that it's crowded, because that means people are using it, and that's wonderful. So on the program and services side, I think, and the board was pretty happy with what we're doing there, and those are kind of our priorities of what we're focusing on, and then our capital priorities. Our capital priorities have been to these last couple of years have been to invest back in our campus. So this year, what I would call investments in our campus, out of our capital spending, 93% of our capital spending has been spent on investing back into either refurbishments, infrastructure, and amenities, and that includes focusing on the wood shop. We've got the village shop is in line to be updated and upgraded, as well as what was the other one? Wood shop. I can't remember. I'm drawing a blank. Gym. Thank you. I just said it. Okay. So I'll be at the resident support group in the Lantern next week. But we have so that's kind of where we are this year. We're several months into it, but those have been our focus. We're trying to put our capital dollars back in our campus. We have to take care of ourselves before we worry about growing. So we want to make sure that we're getting our stuff taken care of here now. And that, my friends, is all I got. Any questions or anything? Yes, ma'am. We're on a fiscal year. So our fiscal year is September 1 through August 31. And believe me, that causes all sorts of problems from from people. Oh, what do you do in the first quarter? Well, the first quarter of my year or the first quarter of your year? But we've been that way for, I think, since the organization started. Yes, sir.
Do you have a count of the total population of residents?
Sure.
How many do we
We have, so the question is, do we have a count of the total population of residents? It's about 295 to 300. We keep track of that regularly, and that's how we measure. We kind of look and we measure when we look at like our outpatient therapy program. We say, okay, how many residents have we served in that outpatient program of out of all our residents? What kind of is a percentage of utilization of that? We do that for different programs, but we have probably today we probably have closer to 300.
And one other question. I think we have a wonderful physical therapy program here. What kind of population uses that from the outside?
Right now, it's relatively small. It's primarily serving, I think, at any given time. Alex and his team are have a caseload of about 40 residents, 40 to 45 cases, and I'd say 95% or higher are internal. And part of the reason for that goes back to a lot of the health systems have rehabs that they own, so they're not sending them out to other people. But that's about. Does that help you, Tom?
Are we trying to grow that population that comes in from the outside because of finance or what?
So the question was why? I think why are we trying to grow that population, right? And the answer is for finance. We're trying to bring people in because the more people we can bring in from the outside and the more clients they serve, the overhead of that program is divided out, and it brings our costs down, and that's I hate to say it, but that's money that's not coming out of your pocket that's actually benefiting you because our overall cost as the organization comes down. And so that's why we are trying to target that. And it's just not an easy nut to crack. You have some of the physicians are part of, the physicians themselves have some kind of circuitous route to owning, have an interest in a therapy company. So it's a very tough market out there, but I can tell you through the success stories that we've had on campus that and our therapy program more than covers itself. It adds and eats into takes away, absorbs a lot of our overhead. So and it provides so many good outcomes for our residents. I was sharing with the a group at the LSA conference, Lutheran Services America conference, my observations that as our fitness program, remember, aging in place is all these different pieces that come in. And when you see people are coming to Vince's classes here, and you can see there's more energy, more people are coming, and then all of a sudden they come out of therapy and they're working with Vince to maintain the improvements that they made in therapy, or Vince is seeing something and getting them to therapy before it becomes a problem. And all of a sudden we've seen attendance at our activities on campus go up. We've seen participation, people, because they're feeling better, right? You're feeling better, you get that little bit of extra energy, so all that active movement, it's cognition because you're having to think about what the moves are, all those things come into play, and we can kind of see it looking down because there's way more activity on campus. And I believe that that's in large part due to all of what we're doing with our active aging and the different programs and services that we have. There's a long-winded answer to that one. Yes, Karen?
I know we're trying to grow, our Alex's group over there. And one thing that I would just like to offer out, I took a couple of their cards over to my general physician, and they were very glad to know that we offered the services to people outside of Lutheran Haven. And as you all know, word of mouth is probably one of the most powerful referrals you can have. So if anybody has their own personal physician, you might just take cards from our, outpatient therapy group and see if they'd be willing to entertain that for the, physicians or doctors groups you go to.
Yeah, and I want to thank Karen. Not only has she helped on the resident portal and her willingness to help people on that, but she came to me with that story a couple months ago, and I keep forgetting to bring it up at the meeting. So again, my memory maker is Karen back there. But truly, when our marketing folks go out to doctors' offices, they rarely get to see the doctor. They're kind of, they can leave something at the front desk, but you actually get to see and talk to the doctor. So that's really a more effective, I think, way of reaching those physicians. So I greatly appreciate you bringing that up, Karen, and remind, there you go, yeah. Any other questions? Yes?
Would it be possible when people move from City Cottage to the harbor, if that could be posted in the daily thing so we can have an update on people's addresses?
Well, I believe now I'm purely speculating. So, but I believe that on the portal, I believe that gets updated. So if you go to the resident directory on the portal, I think those addresses get updated. But I can't swear to that. Jeannie, if you're out there listening, it's Tuesday, so Kathy's there. And Jeannie maintains that. So, but if we're not doing that, yes, we will try and get that in place, because that's really important. So thank you for bringing that up. Yes, sir.
Does the Haven have staff that maintains contact with former residents of the nursing home and those who come from the Haven to go to hospitals? Is there like I can't remember the name of the liaison.
Yeah. Okay, so the question is, when people who were formerly in the nursing home or people that leave our campus and go to a hospital for a certain amount of time or in nursing home or may ultimately end up transitioning to a nursing home, do we have a program that to stay in touch with them? And the answer is emphatically, positively, 100% yes. We have a very active program. This was one of the promises we made 4 or 5 years ago, and we currently, I think when I looked at the December, so September through December, we had done over 300 plus visits. I can't remember how many residents it was that we do. The average number of visits about 2, approaching 3 visits. So when somebody's out, we approximately 3 visits a week during the time that they're out. So we have that has dipped and gone up and down, and most of the time that has to do with our personnel. So if we have a change in personnel in that department, then we see visits go down because we just don't have the bodies to do it. The other piece of that program that's not in the numbers that I gave is in numbers that Pastor Elliott and his team do, which Pastor Elliott, what do you remember what number you gave us in the board report? It was a big old number for the December through December. So he'll be with me at the Lantern. It's a lot. Yeah, okay. So, but they do, the church staff, St. Luke's, we don't get those numbers, but they do provide visits. We do not forget our residents. We go out with them. Right now, I think the health concierge team is who's responsible for doing those. So right now, I think Jen Bonsick is doing most of the visits and helping on that side of it, and Deanna's handling most of the planning and helping residents as they navigate through various aspects of health or insurance and moving. But we are committed to that. We've been tracking it for 4 or 5 years. We keep track of the number of incidents, the number of people, where they are. It's a really good program, and we've lost track of a couple or some of the folks that were in the SNF. I think we're still visiting 3 or 4 of them, but some of them they moved home and moved away, so we really don't know what happened. But that's very few. But that's a great question. Thank you for bringing that up, because Jen and the healthcare concierge team do a wonderful job of honoring the commitment that we made to you guys to not ever leave you stranded or alone. Yes, sir. Anything else? Because it's 3:03. Yeah. Oh, Pastor Elliott, come on up.
It's all yours. I'm sorry. I guess I forgot to mention this. In the very near future is a big push over at St. Luke's to actually establish and increase a Stephen ministry program. It's first being pushed out through the elders, and part of the reason we're doing this is because we have such an increase in visitation that is needed. I do have a spreadsheet that tracks everybody that goes out from either that we know about from the congregation or from the Haven. If you go to a nursing home, we know where you are. That spreadsheet is not only going to be shared with the elders, it's going to be shared with all of the Stephen ministers that come on board. And it is also shared with Mariah, so Mariah can make visits. Okay? So you'll see an ad, I think, this past week for ministry partners for Mariah. We encourage you to go become a ministry partner to help visit the nursing homes, etc. And if you have any desire to become a Stephen minister, you'll see that announcement very soon. We encourage you to sign up for that training as well. All right? And I think that covers the subject of visitation pretty well. We intend to increase it. All right. God's blessings. I guess we're done. All right, go home.